Good evening, everyone. I'll open our ministry. We gather as sovereign beings under the lawful design of life encoded within each of us. In this sacred space of the Sovereign Systems Institute, we pause to recognize our jurisdiction, our capacity, and our contract with the natural order. May our words and decisions align with the resiliency code and generate sovereign wealth for ourselves and all who will follow the resilient path. Tonight, we'll be exploring the intellectual field. Part 1. Your brain runs your body. Most people treat thinking as if it happens in isolation, like their mind is separate from their body, like cognitive capacity is purely mental. The reality is it's not. Your brain is an organ. It runs on glucose and oxygen and other things. It requires hormonal stability. It depends on sleep and how well you sleep. It gets compromised by inflammation. Here's what that means. If your physical field is collapsing, your intellectual field collapses with it. You can't think clearly when you're sleep deprived. Your decision-making fails when your blood sugar is unstable. Your focus disintegrates when chronic inflammation is firing in your system. This isn't weakness, it's just biology. Your cognitive capacity is directly downstream from your physical infrastructure. Part 2. The collapse you're not seeing. Last week we talked about physical field failures accelerating across 3 families in my connection field. Here's what nobody mentions. Those physical collapses didn't just drain bodies. They drained cognitive capacity across entire networks. When someone has a sudden heart attack, everyone in their connection field shifts into crisis mode. Planning, coordinating, managing emotions, making rapid decisions under stress, all of that requires cognitive capacity. And where does that capacity come from? It gets extracted from whatever else you were holding or doing, your work, your projects, your own field maintenance. So the pattern that I see and the pattern that happens is one person's physical field collapse doesn't just extract physical capacity from them. It extracts intellectual capacity from everyone trying to manage the fallout. And most people never see it coming because they don't recognize how dependent their thinking is on their body's stability. Part 3. Thinking with someone else's brain. Here's the other challenge. Most of what you think isn't yours in the first place. You absorbed it from your parents, from your schools, from media, from algorithms, and now you operate as if those thoughts are your own. Vast majority of the time, they're not. Here's a test. When you have a strong opinion about something, ask yourself, where did I get this idea? The fact of the matter is, if you can trace it back to a direct experience or deliberate examination, it's not yours. Here's why this matters for the intellectual field. If your body is compromised and your thoughts aren't even yours, you're operating with zero cognitive sovereignty. You're reacting to information instead of processing it. You're consuming narratives instead of examining them. You're letting algorithms train your attention span into non-existence. That's not thinking. That's intellectual field capacity extraction. Part 4. Clarity versus confusion. Your intellectual field either operates from clarity or confusion. Clarity means you can think through a problem step by step without looping, spiraling, or collapsing into overwhelm. Confusion means your thoughts scatter. You start in one direction, you get distracted, you doubt yourself, and end up nowhere. Most people think confusion is normal, and it's not. Confusion is a symptom of a compromised intellectual field. What causes it? Physical depletion. Your brain literally can't function when your body is failing, whatever the reason might be. Emotional dysregulation. You can't think clearly when your nervous system is just fried. Information overload. Too many inputs, no processing time to manage it all. Lack of structure. No framework, no operating system to organize what you've learned and what you're learning. You can't fix confusion by thinking harder. You fix it by stabilizing the fields underneath it. Part 5. The algorithm is eating your brain. Your intellectual field is under constant assault. Every scroll, every click, every notification is training your brain to react instead of think. Here's what happens. You pick up your phone to check one thing. 30 minutes later, you've consumed 40 plus pieces of information you didn't ask for. Your brain is now holding fragments, not coherent thought, no clear conclusion, just noise. And we wonder why we can't focus. But here's the connection most people miss. When your physical field is weak, whether it's poor sleep, reactive eating, no movement, your brain's ability to resist that algorithmic pull collapses entirely. You wind up not having the cognitive capacity to say no. You don't have the executive function to close the app. You don't have the willpower to process information deliberately. Your body's failure makes your mind vulnerable to extraction. Part 6. Thinking is a trained capacity. Most people believe thinking is automatic. You either have it or you don't. And that's wrong. Thinking is a skill. Like lifting weights or playing an instrument, the more you practice structured thought, the stronger your intellectual field becomes. Structured thought looks like this. You identify a question. What am I actually trying to figure out? You gather relevant data. What do I actually know? Not what do I assume? You test the logic. Does this hold up under scrutiny or does it collapse? Then you reach a conclusion, even if it's a temporary one, or even if it's incomplete. Just going through that process is structured thought. Most of us skip all of that, and we react to information instead of processing it. But here's the catch. You can't train this capacity if your physical field is hemorrhaging. If you're sleep deprived, your brain can't consolidate the information. If you're inflamed, your cognitive processing slows. If you're stressed without any sort of recovery, your executive function shuts down. Your ability to think clearly is built on the foundation of your body being steady and stable. Part 7. The cascade across all 9 fields. When your intellectual field collapses, it doesn't stay isolated. In your creative field, you can't generate new ideas when you can't think clearly. In your connection field, your relationships suffer when you can't have a constructive conversation. In your vocation field, your work performance tanks when your decision-making fails. In your environment field, your spaces become chaotic when you can't organize things systematically. In your resources field, money hemorrhages when you make reactive financial decisions. In your faith field, purpose feels lost when cognitive clarity vanishes. And it all starts with physical field failure. Your body collapses, your thinking follows, everything else cascades. Part 8. Intellectual sovereignty requires physical integrity. You cannot reclaim your cognitive autonomy while your body is failing. You cannot think independently when you're too exhausted to examine your assumptions. You cannot process information deliberately when inflammation is compromising your brain function. And you cannot resist algorithmic manipulation when your executive function is depleted. The brutal truth is, most of us trying to get smarter or think better are ignoring our foundation that our brain depends on. We're trying to build intellectual capacity on top of physical collapse, and it just doesn't work. In summary, your mind depends on your body. Intellectual sovereignty isn't just about reclaiming your thoughts. It's about stabilizing the physical infrastructure your brain runs on: sleep, nutrition, movement, stress regulation, toxin management, recovery. Those aren't separate from thinking clearly. They are a prerequisite. And you really have two options. Keep trying to think your way out of problems while your body collapses underneath you, or build physical integrity so your cognitive capacity actually holds under pressure. The intellectual field doesn't operate in isolation. It's built on every other field, especially the physical. If you want to think clearly, start by making sure your body can support it. I'm grateful for you joining me this evening. I'll close out this evening's ministry. Having prepared through this fellowship, we return to participate from our individual sovereignty, carrying the coherence generated here into our respective fields, in service to the lawful design of life and the continuation of this work. Next week, we'll explore the creative field. It is the engine of expansion. Take care, and we'll see you again next week.